Morning, folks. This soap is was sent to me. The scent is just fantastic. Some of the scent profile on this one here is it's like let's see here. We got grapefruit, bay leaves, rose, cedar, vetiver, amber, musk. It's as a matter of fact here. Let me go ahead and open it up, and that's what the rest of that looks like there. This is really nice soap. What it looks like there on the inside. This is a glass container with a metal lid, and the scent, it's well blended. It smells just, it's wonderful. This is a really nice scent. Quite surprised. Didn't know what to expect, but this is really nice stuff. As it goes for the container, it's 160 milliliters or 5.41 ounces. In the box that I got, I mean, the presentation is just fantastic of this soap. It comes in a box like this. And it comes, of course, it comes with instructions. And this is where I find it pretty interesting. I don't know, and I could be wrong, of very many soaps that send out the instructions, especially quite like this. It tells you that use 3 grams of soap, and if you follow down through there, it tells you basically how to, you soak your brush and how much water to use and whatnot. And I think, for me, I'm, really bad about, I use a lot of soap, a lot of shaving cream, more than enough. And so I did try to use the 3 grams, which figures out to be 0.68 of a teaspoon. In other words, not even full teaspoon. And I think I got pretty close to that. But as it goes for the, I'm trying to sneeze here, the water, yeah, I lather up a particular way, so I kind of deviated from that part there. But this soap just lathers. It's really nice in the container here. Got it whipped up here in a bowl with a Yaqi brush. This is, I mean, good and wet. This is what, get turned around here. It's got a coin down the bottom. And yes, this does glow in the dark. At least this side does. The green side doesn't, but this side does. Pretty nice. I've got links to all this cool stuff down below. It's what it looks like there in the bowl. And it is fairly wet, almost drippy. But it is nice and creamy, and man, does it smells good. It just smells wonderful. Just really like the scent of this. And also got the aftershave balm also with this. With this scent, it's just wonderful. As it goes for the price, I think the everyday price going right around 42 bucks. So 53 shaves or 51 shaves, or it depends on how much soap you use and how precise you are in measuring it out. And so you're going to get, in other words, you're going to get, quite a few shaves, and it figures around, I don't know, 80 cents, I think it is, something like that per shave. So even though the soap itself is expensive by, I guess you might say, most of our standards, but if you calculate and if you're very good at measuring out your soap on a consistent basis, using it as your daily driver, you're getting over a month and a half of shaves. Just depends on how much soap you use. So that is something to kind of factor into it. But it's this soap is just really nice. It's fantastic. Shaver of the day. Excuse me. This is Merkur 37C Slant. It's 2-piece design. Excuse me, very much, the Razor Rock German 37. The head is patterned just off of this. In other words, if it looks familiar, that's the reason why. And this is a pretty nice shaver. It's got a nice handle length, easy to put your little finger there for control. The blade of choice today is, I think I know how to pronounce this. Over the years, there's always a discussion, it seems like, somewhere along the line on how do you pronounce this, and I think it's Voskhod. If that's not it, that's as good as it gets from my English going to Russian. It comes in a little packet there, cardboard. But anyway, that's when it comes to my English, I have a hard enough time discussing my using English, much less trying to use another language. So yeah, you guys will probably have a good laugh. Switching up on the witch hazel. This witch hazel is Humphreys. I'm going to put it back here. This is a larger container than probably what, the average size, I guess you might say. In other words, this is 16 ounces, and I've got it at Marshall's. Still got the sticker on the back, but I don't know if you can see that, but $5.99. That's a pretty good buy. Excuse me. Couldn't let it sit on the shelf. In other words, this is going to last me a good long moment. To a degree, this doesn't have, there's no scent added, I should say, but it does have a natural occurring scent. And if you're wondering how does it smell, my wife doesn't like the scent. She doesn't like it at all. All right. I've already put a hot towel to the face this morning and go ahead and wet the face, get started with the Preshave soap. I was debating with this particular soap whether or not I used the Preshave or not, but I have been doing this routine for a while now, so I thought I'd just go ahead and stick with it, with the Preshave soap from Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements. This is what's left of the Preshave cube. This is the Holliday version. Now, per my nose, it still has some scent left, but not a whole lot, but it has been sitting out in the open for a good long moment, so that part there doesn't surprise me. But on the other hand, I also know that my nose is not the best. There are times that it works really well, sometimes not so much. Oh, I should say this soap also came with a little thin piece of paper on top of the soap. So if you decide to get some of this, that is something to look for. In other words, don't try to scoop out without removing that paper, which, you know, the paper, I guess I was just oohing and ahhing over it, but the paper, of course, the paper just smelled fantastic. You can smell that for quite a while. It was pretty nice. Very impressed with the presentation, the scent of the soap. I didn't know what to expect. In the way of scent, I mean, I can read off, you know, all the scents that you might pick up, you know, if your nose is a whole lot better than mine. In other words, right from the website. But for me, I don't know how it's blended. It just, you know, for me, I just can't imagine the scent. I sometimes just have to have it to smell it, and not that I'm ever able to describe it because it's well blended. My nose doesn't pick up maybe the cedar, the vetiver, maybe something along those lines. Maybe a little bit of the grapefruit and bay leaves, but the way it's blended and the way you smell it as you're, in other words, as you're lathering it up, you know, I pick up, you know, different scents as time goes on if I'm paying really close attention to it. But man, it does. It smells wonderful. Very, very surprised, if you will, of the scent of this soap. And only to put just that little bit of soap in a bowl and it whips up like this, that's pretty nice. Can't complain a bit. Pretty awesome. And we'll see how this setup works. For me, as it goes for the water and the directions, for me, if you're using a synthetic brush, the amount of water you use versus, at least my experience has been, versus a natural bristle brush, to me the amount of water I use with the soap is quite different. For me, I notice that there's a difference in how much water I have to use. Typically with a natural bristle, I end up using more water than I do with a synthetic. So there is that, if you will. And so in other words, whether the instructions were designed to be using a well broken natural bristle, you know, in other words, there are some factors, I guess you might say, one might consider when you first start out using this. So especially if you're going to try to get 50 some odd shaves out of the container, because $42. I mean, in other words, if you're used to seeing the prices to Razor Rock anywhere from $2.99 to maybe what, $9.99 at the most, usually, depending on the size of the soap from Razor Rock, this is quite a bit more. But I think if you're looking for a quality soap, in other words, a really nice one that you can understand, especially the scent on this, it's just, man, incredible. Of course, a lot of that probably has to do with how it hit my nose. How it hits your nose, it might be something totally different. You may not appreciate vetiver, so there is that. I know for my wife, I think vetiver is one of those scents that hits her nose pretty well. She enjoys it. Very nice. I mean, this is such a smooth, easy-going shave. There's just, oh, I should mention, I didn't shave yesterday, so I had 2 days worth of growth. It's getting mowed down right now. For me, this is a pretty good pairing up of Voskhod and the Merkur 37. It's a pretty nice combination there. In other words, you know how sometimes it may feel like you've got 2 days worth of growth versus 1 day worth of growth. I can't tell the difference. I mean, it is really, really smooth shaving. So when it comes to slant razors, I'll continue on using various slants I have. They do vary. Some are very smooth shaving. Might even remind you of a Gillette Tech, Ball Tech, in other words, but just as smooth, but maybe more efficient. I would say more efficient, especially with this one here, but very smooth, just an easy going shave. And then there's some slants, and I do have some that are far more aggressive, if you will. In other words, there's a lot more blade feel to it. And it just depends on where you're at on your shaves and what your skin can tolerate. What slant might work best for you. And also, as well as this being a two-piece design, you might enjoy the two-piece design versus a three-piece far more. Excuse me. I had a frog most of the weekend in my throat, not wanting to go away. It cooled off a little bit here, but today I think the high is supposed to be 75. Yeah, we're doing the roller coaster thing, where the high might maybe right at 60, and then you'll have some days where the high is around 75 or so. And it's November. And if you kept up with any of the college football games over the weekend, it was kind of a wild weekend. I was kind of expecting it, which a lot of other folks, if you read some of the articles, their expectations of Saturday's football games, they were expecting a few upsets. It kind of happens over the years. In other words, teams that some folks would expect to win end up losing. It's just, I guess you might say the way things go usually in college football. Things like that will happen. This soap is really nice though. Very creamy. Man, just a really nice shave, especially for a Monday. Starting out great. I think I'll have to total them up. I don't know how many slant razors I have. I know I've got a few. That's the reason why I decided to start doing I guess you might say, a series of slant razors. If you go to look today, what's being manufactured today on how many slant razors versus how many that you can find that was sold over time. In other words, to venture off into the buy-sell trade area to pick up some that are no longer in production, you'll find some fantastic slant razors over the time. They just, for whatever reason, they go out of production, even though the shavers are quite nice. Like this one here, still in production, but it is such a nice, smooth shaver. And it's still efficient. There's not just a little bit of hair in here that's all was left on my face that needed to be knocked down. At least to hit my standard. Like I say, Voskhod it's a very nice pairing for this shaver. Now, since COVID's hit, I really haven't looked too terribly hard, but Voskhod, before COVID, supply chain, blah, blah, all that sort of crap, all that hit, I have been able to find 100-pack of these, probably in about this month, in other words, close to Black Friday, on eBay, if I remember right, for $6.99 once upon a time. That was before COVID hit. Now they've went up in price. but they're relatively inexpensive in the grand scheme of things, especially for the shave you get, at least for what I get. They work well for me. These are really nice blades. I've got more than 100, in other words. These blades always work well for me, it seems like. I may have to try it in another shaver or two that's a bit more aggressive to see how they work out for me. Face feels really smooth. Like I say, not a whole lot of effort. I guess you might say I could have made do with a 2-pass shave at a pickup, or adjusted my second pass to pick up the, I guess you might say, the leftovers. Face feels wonderful. Really nice soap. I'll show you what the, as time goes on, I'll show you what the aftershave balm looks like. I'll squirt it out, but I'll put it on my face off camera, because I have a tendency to spend some time working it into my skin, and in other words, it'd get quite boring for some folks. But I will show you what it looks like when it comes out of the container, the consistency of it. No stinging, none. Not that I expected it. It's just a wonderful shave. I wanted to take a quick moment. I picked these up. It was mentioned to me. I know I've seen them before, these blades, and decided I would go ahead and give them a try. So I did pick up a few of, I don't know how you want to call them. These are Derby UST, what I think is Justa. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Anyhow, picked up some of these blades, and here in the near future I'll be trying these blades to see how they work out for me. Never tried them, so it'll be interesting how it works out. If you're wondering what kind of restrictor there is, there it is in this container. 16 ounces. It's going to take a good long moment to use all this. Like I say, it does have a scent. My nose picks it up. It's what I would refer to as a naturally occurring scent. Couldn't even begin to tell you what it smells like. It is noticeable though, which is interesting considering that there's not a scent added to it. So that is something to keep in mind with ones that are unscented versus ones that are scented. There is a naturally occurring scent to it, so you might find that maybe going with one with a scent might work better for your nose. As it goes for how long does it stick around, per my nose, and my nose is terrible, it's already gone. I can't smell it. So in other words, a brief moment I pick it up, and then shortly thereafter it's gone. So if there is that also, if that matters to anybody. This is the way it shows up. 100 milliliters, 3.38, in other words 3.4 ounces, whatever the case might be. Comes with a nice cap to it. Don't know if you can see, that's what I like the pumps. I like the pumps better, but put a couple of, 3 squirts, why not? That is what it looks like in my hand. You can kind of see how it's hanging in there. In other words, it's relatively thick, it's firm if you will. It does squirt out just fine out of the pump, but it is not, in other words, it's nothing like Star Jelly from Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements. It's going to take a moment to work in, so probably this much from my face is probably too much. So in other words, a little goes a long ways. At any rate, I'll go ahead and close this out. Hope everybody's doing well. Stay healthy, stay safe, and smooth shaves to you.